Hello and welcome to another episode of Rolling 20s. We are the show that's so pathetic, if there was an adult parody, it would be called Coming Up Short. I am Jeremy. Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on Tumblr. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machina Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinasupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. This is another one of our special episodes that had to do with panels that I personally hosted at Great American Comic Con this past December 3rd and 4th at the Cashman Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Vegas is not entirely my kind of town, at least not the entertainment district. I don't gamble. I'm too married to visit escorts, and I'm just not into generally loud things, which sounds really odd since I've been nose deep in San Diego Comic-Con for the past 4 years, but when it's just all meant to blur the senses together, it bothers me. You know what I mean? It's just not a place I can easily focus. However, I was really pleased to host the next panel, and believe it or not, this was one I did completely off script. I had already spoken to these two people prior in the convention. I had to host the panel titled Creating Your Own Independent Comic Publishing Company. And because I'd already spoken to these guys, I took my notes and I turned them over and I went completely off the top of my head. And if you're looking on how to build a business, these guys set up all the necessary steps. It really doesn't matter what type of business it is, because a lot of us start from the same places, assuming we don't have, money bags funding us. But if you want to know the bare bones of what it would take to work, and even how to defend your intellectual properties after you have them established, you really need to listen to this, because I learned new things about what I could do for the show, frankly, by the time it was done. So, listen to this panel very intently. These are the founders of their own comic book companies. The founder of Crusade Comics and the creator of She, Mr. Billy Tucci, and the founder of Chaos Comics, and the founder and owner of Coffin Comics, and the characters of Lady Death, Purgatory, Evil Ernie, and a number of others, including El Muerte, Mr. Brian Pulido. Listen closely. So, we are sitting here with Mr. Billy Tucci, Mr. Brian Pulido. Mr. Tucci is the creator of She and the founder of his own company, Crusade Comics. And Mr. Pulido is the founder of his own company, Chaos Comics, and the creator of characters like Evil Ernie, Lady Death, Purgatory, and a number of others. Yeah, and right now I'm actually the owner, operator, publisher of Coffin Comics. That's why I was careful to use the word creator and not owner at the time. Yeah, thank you. I once was the owner. I mean, Mr. Tucci, you touched on it pretty seriously yesterday, that when it comes to creating your own comics, the printing costs are almost a non-factor these days with the internet.
I was saying, that even today they have Eisner Awards for webcomics. Yep. Yeah, there's an Eisner Award category for best webcomic, and that is the most, if anyone who's done research on it and knows about how comics are made, the most expensive part of it, or a very big, sizable part of it, is the printing costs. With the social media and with the internet and how huge it is now, you don't have to necessarily worry about that step now. You can just have a very successful webcomic, have it come out for a year or so, build up a following, and then you could put it out there either via Kickstarter or sell them directly and say, we're selling issues, and then you could print it. Yep, which is fantastic. Definitely another avenue.
All right, so either of you that feels like answering, it seems like being able to write and draw your own stories is terrific, but some people may have more talent in one or the other. So if they're looking for a partner to help them flesh out their stories or their art, what are good resources to go to?
Well, I guess I can only speak to how I began, which would be I met a lot of artists that I would work with at comic book conventions. Okay. Face-to-face networking. Now, you can meet a person online or through sites like digital webbing. Digitalwebbing.com has a message board where people, new talent, work with each other or seek each other out. But one thing for me that you can never replace a face-to-face experience with somebody. So I love discovering talent, typically in person, because being able to draw is one element of it, but then the person's professional chops are very, very important. Mm-hmm. And I like to kind of get a read on a person to see what their professional acumen is. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, so I think, I don't know what Billy would say, but the in-person thing is quite great.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And something I just noticed, we have the same exact sneakers.
Oh, my God, man. Great mind. They're comfy.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. We should actually retitle the name of this panel to Comfortable Shoes for Conventions.
With black shirts.
Sponsored by.
Because I got to tell you, I used to go for style, but now now I go for comfort.
Yeah, how great is that? That's so funny.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, how you doing?
Welcome, come on in.
So being the founders of your own company, that means you also have to work as managers in HR. Mm-hmm. I guess that question comes in two parts. The first part is, given those face-to-face interactions, what kind of attitudes are you looking for in people you're going to collaborate with?
Well, again, personality is everything. It's great to work with someone that is fun. Mm-hmm. Of course, when it gets down to work and they do their work, but you also play off of other people. That Barry Kitson had said that one time he got a script from Mark Waid, and he works great with Mark Waid, and all the page whatever 5 of the script said page 5 to 17 they fight.
That's a good one.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So which is great. That he has that much confidence in someone and in their ability, and you could run with it, and it makes it's more fun because you don't want to. I mean, I write full scripts. That's how I usually work, but I usually draw it as well. So it's something to get out of the way for me, and but. It's great to not have to give camera angles unless it's something specific for another writer, for another artist to do, to let them, have their little bit of creative freedom too. And it's great when you meet someone like that you have the confidence in that can do that.
I agree with you. I actually look for, even though I'm known most for doing dark, edgy stuff, I totally am only interested in working with people who have an upbeat attitude.
Right. You don't want somebody dragging down your room.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. So that would be both how they conduct themselves personally and professionally. So kind of look at the totality of it. So if a person's work is great, but they're on Facebook and they're yapping about all kinds of things that kind of drive people up a wall. Mm-hmm. I'm just not game for that. It's certainly a person's choice to do that, but generally our platform is very simple. We spread joy and fun in the domain of rock and roll inspired supernatural comics. And anything else we don't want to have anything to do with. So no politics, no religion, none of that stuff, because those things tend to divide people. And we believe that rock and roll inspired supernatural comics unite people. And so...
Well, yeah, you don't want to have that conversation. That's very nice, Tommy, but I said, how are you doing? Not what's your thoughts on illegal immigration. Could you please draw the page?
Right.
Absolutely true. So for me, it's a general upbeat attitude, chill, professional presentation. People... Like Billy said, you want to have fun. Could be pretty joyless. So I do try to look for folks who are generally happy. And, it's the arts, so it comes in all kinds of ways. So happy, upbeat, cup half full as opposed to half empty, because it's all made up, and if it's all made up anyway, I'm looking for the positive end of it. Mm-hmm. And then other things. Again, that innate ability is one thing, but then I'm looking out, are people gossipy? Are they cutthroats? Are they... so I just look for happy, good time people who, just want to march to this particular drum.
So in that case, though, the internet has again changed things because face-to-face isn't always the first way you meet people.
True.
And I'm not going to say that everyone's hitting you up for a job, but say you had a referral from a third party you trust of this individual who has the talent. How would you research somebody if you may not have the capability to meet them?
Well, the good thing about working with artists is that you can see their work. So you can see it, and then you could Google them and you could see how much work they put out.
Okay.
If there's only one drawing of this person, does he have anything else? Then you're like, but if he's got DeviantArt page,
sure, lots
of work, or he's worked at other companies, and again, you could talk to somebody else, but I guess this is if someone's breaking in, someone new. Mm-hmm. Your work will speak for itself. That's the most important thing. That's initially how you get somebody.
Yeah, that starts the great quality work begins the conversation.
Okay.
It's okay, you're great. Now let's talk.
Right.
How long does it take for you to be great? Can you do 2 pages a week, 3 pages, 4, 1 a year?
Yeah.
I agree. Actually, I think it's pretty, the net makes everything really transparent, too. Because you can go on, nothing stops you from going on a Facebook page. Okay, how does this person conduct himself on a Facebook page? That kind of thing. And I have hired people from afar, and that's simply what I'll do. It's like I'm sort of curious on their ability to produce and how they conduct themselves. Those are the two big things. And then professionalism.
All right.
I don't got time for no drama.
I have to leave then. No. Now, say you've managed to find the right individuals to help you create your story, and you're starting with one. You're not trying to overreach, or you're trying to get your first story out there. Okay. How much space do you need to successfully work without sitting on top of each other?
I mean, I'll give you an example. I do a comic called La Muerta, and I ultimately cast an artist named Joel Gomez. And Joel and I sat down and I said, Joel, realistically, for you to produce your best work, how much time is it going to take? And this is what I want you to consider. The times you need to take for vacation, holidays, like however, really look at it. And then we agreed. And then upon agreement, we write it down. And then that's that.
Is that 48 pages for a 48-page book?
Yeah, and in our case, Joel produces about 96 pages in 9 months. So instead of being cutthroat and say, I'm going to replace him with 5 other artists, I'm like, okay, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do 2 chapters of La Muerta in a year. We call them chapters, 40-pagers, and base it on that. Now, the only time this hasn't happened, thankfully, because I feel like, again, I've cast the right people with the right attitudes. So in the case of Joel, if he's a little under the weather or something comes up, he's historically in communication. Okay. So, I mean, I worked on another project called Zack the Zombie Exterminator, 96-page, full color, and this was the young man's first professional job. And he produced 5 pages, pencil and inked, a week without fail. It was unbelievable. He's great. Digital Morissette fan, and he'll go places. He was just a rock star. Wow. Yeah, and I did get to meet him in person, though, because I could kind of tell. He was a fresh college graduate. Well, I guess I did take a risk. But I would put him in the upper 5% of professionals I've ever worked with, and that was his first professional job. Wow. So then, what I'm saying in a long-winded manner is, once the person is cast and once we've kind of agreed upon things, I'm not breathing down anyone's throat except if they blow the deadline. Okay. And so I'll work with some serious rock star cover artists, and then again, I'll interview them. How long will it take? Blah blah blah. What's a comfortable deadline for you? So I lay my trap. Now you tell me your deadline. Does that work into your life? Anything coming up? Vacation? Blah blah blah. And then I'll just simply follow up. Hey, does this work into your life? And then, I guess let me address something that you're not even thinking about. So as independent publishers, I'm historically working with talent who are just beginning their professional career, and I'm looking for people, particularly for interiors, I'm looking for people who are just about to pop. Like, meaning, they're professional, and, there'll be eyeballs on them, and I'm kind of eyeballing that they have something special. And I know that I'm going to be able to work with that person for a certain period of time, and then they will be poached by Marvel and DC. Because it's happened to me dozens of times. And I actually completely accept it, because I know they'll go on, and I still have to find relationships with those guys. Because, I could pay X. It's not unreasonable, but I could pay X, but those guys can pay to a factor of 3. So, I have a situation like that with a cover artist who I adore and who's also a friend. And now he's going not exclusive to DC, but more and more DC work. And it's like, dude, I'm happy for you. I'm fine. It's like there's always, again, I say this in a nice way, there's always the next awesome person coming, and we're always looking. So I kind of get that there's that quality. Usually in cover artists, it's kind of different, it's all availability, price, people like each other, to work with each other, that kind of stuff. But that interior talent, I seem to get them in a certain period of time, and I accept.
That's great. That's cool.
Accept. They move on. That's life.
Yeah.
Ed Bennis. I've broken Ivan Reese, tons of dudes. I'm like, see.
Well, they worked for you first?
Yeah, I know those names.
Oh, yeah, I broke so many people.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I work with Diodato. I work with all kinds of guys. I worked with Ivan Reese for 6 years. We remain friends. Again, I'm fine with it. Luke Ross, Eddie Barrows. 10 DC exclusives right now. Wow. Jeez. Over time. But I accept it.
Well, given that you laid out so distinctly what the terms of your agreements are, do you think it's necessary to, as specific as you are, retain an attorney just in case issues pop up, or have you always...
You have a contract.
Yeah.
You have a contract with them, and
We always have a contract.
Yeah, and but
I mean, we just did a cover, and we had a contract between us.
Did I sign it?
Your wife signed it.
Okay.
And we go back.
Well, that's what you got to deal with. It's guys like that.
I deal with Debbie on the business.
Yeah.
No, but that's because we go back. I mean, we go back that long, and we still have a contract. I mean, we started out together 22 years ago.
Brian gave me my first published work. I met Brian and Stephen Hughes at San Diego Comic-Con 1993. Wow. And they had a table at Small Press or something like that. And
they were like young professionals.
Yeah, and they were the only people who talked to me. But we hit it off. We really hit it off. And he's like, yeah, I got a book coming out, and would you do a pinup in it? And it became the swimsuit issue. Yeah. I don't know if it was planned as a swimsuit issue already, but I'm like, wow, thank you. I think you paid me, well, he paid me.
Yeah. Maybe a couple
great.
Then.
It was fun. It was cool, and I'm like, this guy's so great. And then I came home and I'm like, you know what? And I was thinking, I'm like, the hell with all these guys. I'm going to do my own book too. And then San Diego, and then that was San Diego 93. San Diego 94, we were right around the corner from us. We were, bam, it was sick. It was
over the world.
They had to move us, I think, next to Shatner. I was signing at one point. Willie Shatner was there. And he's like, what the hell?
And I didn't understand when they would come at us with all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do it. Like we had a fog machine and fire alarm lights at our booth. And San Diego was saying, you can't do that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. We have to do this to be us. So none of us were, it's funny. We had a PA system. And when they wanted to move us, we had our whole fan base, a zillion at that time, and to come and we sang.
Was it America the Star Spangled Banner? Or
probably America the Beautiful or something like that. As a protest.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine that the next step the following year is that San Diego gets a letter and says these guys are back, and now they want Anthrax to play an anthem while they come down the aisle. It's like, damn it, they're back.
Dude, no joke, stuff like that's how. Really, we did have guests like that, and they're like, yeah, we don't want that band to play. Really, at the time.
Yeah. Now. Yeah. I had a Japanese taiko drummer one time come, and they were pissed, and you have Marvel throwing out cards, and there's a mob in front of the Marvel booth, but because of our 10 by 20, whatever it was, 10 by 20, with two end caps, I brought a taiko drummer and a Japanese taiko set the big drum, and he's boom, 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 boom. Awesome. It was amazing. And this crowd gathered around, they got mad at me. I'm like, you can't walk past the image booth. They're throwing out crap to these people. Who wants this? And they're throwing out cards. But because we were smaller,
right?
And I remember at one point, and I know I'm getting off the subject, I apologize, but we were in the small press section. And I didn't want to be in the small press section because at that time with San Diego was that you had, here's the small press, and then here's all the real comic companies. And I remember that with Harris Comics, who published Vampirella, I'm like, well, Harris is there. This is for 95.
Well, it's actually true. We were actually beating these companies.
Yeah.
And we were a total anomaly. We messed with people's minds. And there was like a 36-month period where we were beating Marvel in DC.
Yeah, and when they were telling me, I said, Harris is there. Like, Harris is a corporation. I said, I'm a corporation. I'm incorporated. I want to be where the real comic book guy. Jeff Smith did the same thing, and then finally they moved us out of the independent alley, which is a very small...
Yeah.
Like a little, and they still have it with the red. Yeah. It's actually a lot nicer now. It's kind of like might want to be there now as opposed to being on the...
We're probably all more willing to comply, but we were just, snot-nosed rebellious.
Yeah. We were like, I said, I have a bigger market share than Harris. So they're there. Why the heck am I not there? Can I? Because again, you had to go through all of them to get to us, type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So you it was an afterthought, and so we want to be on the main floor with everybody else. And we did. I drove Faye crazy. And
they had to do a lot of learning when we came around.
Yes, they.
We did.
But that's a great thing when you have to be for the podcast too. For if you want to publish your own comics, you want to become a publisher, you want to a self-publisher. You got to have that piss and vinegar. You've got to feel that you have that confidence and that enthusiasm. Because as I said, your enthusiasm is contagious.
Yes.
And it really is. And if you're excited about something, then you get someone else excited about it, and then if they like it, and they'll tell their friends and like the commercial and so on and so on. And it's true. It really...
Yeah, I've never looked at comic publishing as a business. I look at it as a mission. I do. So that's the game is a mission. But swinging back to this real simple principle is with a lawyer, we constructed an agreement. Mm-hmm. And then that agreement is customized for each use. And so let's take the deal we did with Billy for a cover. We actually defined inside that agreement, even though we're friends, exactly how that is going to be used. Mm-hmm. What is his rights and remedies? The art goes back to him, this kind of stuff. I will consult with him on color. We'll work those kinds of things out. And then internally as a company, we use the contract as a management tool, because then from there, we understand our responsibility to our people, down to even things like comp copies, because then that part of the contract goes to our shipping area. We have a small, effective little company, and so that tells our guys, they don't have to guess, like how many comps does Billy come when his stuff comes off the press. We actually have a little section where it's like, okay, here's people's comps.
Right.
So it helps.
Well, that actually begs another question, because when a lot of us try to start new projects, we tend to employ our friends because they're the nearest people at hand. We tend to have a level of trust. But how much do you need to compartmentalize when you're trying to create a definitive product between friends? Because sooner or later, you got to turn into a manager.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough working with friends, and I went through that. And as another thing, if you want to make your own books and you want to work with your friends, your friends expect a lot. Or, at one point I had a colorist who was a great friend of mine from high school, and he was doing our coloring, and I'm like, I just don't, there's just something not right about it. Something's just off with it. And he goes, well, maybe it's your artwork you don't like.
Oh,
that's cool, man. Oh boy.
Wow.
So I'm like, maybe, and that's it for you. So, yeah. But friends talk to you and you like,
yeah, that's true.
As opposed to hiring someone and, listen, I'll pay you. Yeah. If you're a letterer, I'll pay you $10, $20 a page to letter, and if you please spell everything right. Your friend, you might insult,
Yeah.
I'm your friend, so I'm helping you out. It's like when you ask your friend to come help you move. Because you're not paying them, and they show up late, or they don't do anything. So I find it better to, until you get to that professional level, if your friends are professionals, like Barry Kitson wants to do, oh, God, yeah. But if you got your buddy John who wants to, I'll help you can color my book. Yeah, I'm an artist. I want to, and then he screws up. It's better to hire somebody.
I agree. I always expect too, people have their crafts sort of sorted out. Mm-hmm. In our company, in terms of the books, we hire people who are professional, to do the book production. Then internally, we have a distribution element to what we do. So. One of the guys who's been with me for 8 years, I don't know how our relationship is. Either he's kind of like a son or a brother kind of thing. We have a professional line, but we can kind of get into it a little bit like family does. Mm-hmm. But it all kind of comes out in the wash. There's a lot of apologies and stuff, kind of run hot about stuff. But it's my guy Nick. But we have one guy who works for us, Jeff Cooperschmidt, for a really long time, and he is a friend. But we kind of separate. The different things.
Right.
So there's a combination. But in terms of the book production, it's business first. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Okay. Because it is a business.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, if you want to make your own comics, it is a business. You're putting together a product. So it's got to be as professionally executed, as possible. Because if it's a piece of crap, no one's going to remember, remember that book we wanted to do.
Right.
If it's garbage and if the pages are out of order when it comes to print, or it's upside down, or colors don't work, that's not helping you. And it's you got to look at it as a business.
Okay. So say the product we are developing is a comic book or graphic novel. Your deadlines were met, arguments were had, swords were drawn. One toe was lost, but everything has come together the way you wanted it to. So now we sit in the age where you have two potential routes to advertise, right? The internet and social media, and then showing at conventions like these.
Yes.
So how would you need to approach marketing your product to people who either haven't heard of it or you're trying to reestablish with your customer base?
He's a genius at this, so
thank you.
I follow him. he's been like my big brother, for 20 some odd years.
So if you know some of my career and what I've been able to accomplish, people say I have a specialty in marketing, and what I can tell you in that domain is that it's very elusive and it's very much a moving target.
Right.
And no matter what effort you put in, there's more to be done.
Okay.
So it's a never-ending, hungry beast marketing. Mm-hmm. So it occurs to me that some of the real basics that anybody can do that helps any business is to be out locally with your product or a preview or some enthusiasm about it anywhere you can be. So as an example, when I was starting out with Evil Ernie back in the day in Southern California, in a period of 18 months, I was on the road at a store or at a convention probably every weekend except one or two, incessantly. In this day and age, I would then also be gathering a mailing list I would have a website and a web presence. I'd have a simple web store and start selling right off the bat. I would be driving to have people sign up to your mailing list to get the latest information about what you do. Okay. And in terms of marketing, if people say, like, Brian, you're pretty good at marketing, what I would tell you is the number one thing to have to keep your company running, and is more important than social or any of that stuff, is your mailing list. Okay. Your mailing list is a tried and true element that keeps you going through thick and thin. And then, of course, you want to have a presence in social. And we're in certain platforms. I think we're Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, jumping on Pinterest soon. Okay. And we're yapping. I mean, Billy has a nice online presence, and that's who he is. And I do something similar. Again, I'm always into a certain domain, which is, I'm always talking about horror movies and heavy metal, and because that's what I care about. So, and that attracts folks who enjoy that kind of stuff, or commitment to like exactly what it is we do, always yapping about our stories and our products that are coming, and being authentic about it, not being fake about it. Nothing cynical here about either of how we conduct ourselves. Like, this is it. There's like when during the day we are really listening to Anthrax all day. That's what we're doing.
Lucky guess.
Yeah, or whatever.
All right.
Go through a real Slayer phase, but marketing is all encompassing, and you can never do enough of it.
You need to be consistent and constant, is what I'm hearing.
I believe you do, because we have a theory too. Let me give you a peculiar illustration, or an interesting illustration that tells you something about marketing. Okay. So we do our first Kickstarter, and during our first Kickstarter, we used a marketing technique called carpet bombing. And what we did is we put out 17 social messages a day times the whole campaign. Effectively, they said the same thing. Get our stuff. Our stuff is here.
If I can, do you mean 17 messages per platform or total per day?
Or let me qualify. Okay. 17 messages across 4 platforms. All right. We use an app called Hootsuite, which takes a given message and crosses it against the platforms. All right. So, then in addition to the social messages, we're hitting mailing lists probably every other day with the communication. So carpet bombing technique is borderline spam. And I'm not always recommending it, but we were trying to make a climb. We were climbing Mount Everest the first time, and we were just getting out there. So 17 times 29, we're somewhere around the 450th message on the 29th day out of a 30-day campaign for Kickstarter, and this is the first new Lady Death comic book I'd done in a while. So that's the thing we're talking about. 450 messages, some version of it. Check out this preview page. Look at the color. Hey, buy this now. Maybe you want to consider this. Did you like her back in the day? Did you see the anime? Like, whatever. All these messages. So on the 29th day on Facebook, some guy wrote, "Hey, Polito, when are you going to get off your ass and do a new Lady Death comic book?" Now,
really?
Absolutely. What that informed us was, it wasn't about him. It's like, oh, well, how dare you not know out of all these messages? What it told us was something that we learned mightily from, which is you just never know when people show up. Yeah. So what that told us was that guy just showed up. Now, 7 Kickstarters later, we backed off heavily on the social, the quantity of the social. We'd still put out messages. We'll still get people who don't know. And from a marketing perspective, our potential customer base is the population of the planet. Right. And our current customer base is X. So we always endeavor to expand it. So that's what I mean by it's kind of a never-ending font, and it's something you could always work on, because you never know when people are going to arrive, reconnect, discover. They do it on their own time. So you have to be available to be the person that person needs you to be when they're rediscovering. You can't be the cynical bastard, like, why didn't you see my messages? The evidence is they didn't see your messages. So you're like, hey, how you doing, man? Welcome. So you got to answer. Jimmy Palmiotti told me this. We'll try to keep this between ourselves. So Jimmy Palmiotti told me this early on when we were doing Kickstarters. Excuse me if I'm pontificating too much on this, but he said, people are going to ask you a lot of questions during Kickstarter. It's going to be the same question. You kind of got to relate it to as a friend of yours. Like, a guy was a really good friend. He got in a car accident. Things changed. A little simpler, and they're kind of asking you the same question. But you just got to treat them like they're your friend and you love them. So it's true. We are asked the same question 300 times Kickstarter, but we're okay with it because we just don't know when a person's arriving to the table, to the party. Yeah. So it's something to watch out for, because it's very easy to get cynical or feel like, hey, why don't you know? I mean, lot of people just don't know, no matter how much you think you're doing. So it really informs our decision making, and we're really peaceful with the idea that every day there's going to be someone like, hey, you're back, or hey, I didn't know you're still making this. It's not an insult, they just don't know. Mm-hmm. They arrive when they arrive.
And actually that brings up another question I've got, because both of you created some very memorable, almost indelible characters. But
almost.
Well, I'm saying that because you do this without the major marketing machines are behind, like, say the X-Men or the Justice League. But Lady Death, she, and several others still stick out in people's minds in pop culture. It seems like they just will not go away.
Yeah.
So if you have an intellectual property that's taken off, what steps do you need to take to protect it? Because if you're not a big company, people will often try and snag the image for a quick T-shirt sale or things like that. What do you have to look out for?
It's tough. I mean, they're going to do it, and it's real tough. We've had that. People, they made a porno movie off of She. They made it with both my designs, and I sued.
I need to check the internet.
It's called Angel X. And someone brought me a poster to sign at a convention. I'm like, what the hell is this? He got it out of a porn magazine or something, and there's my character. I mean, it was She. And then there's two characters, and the other one, which is her trainer, who she ended up, another woman, and she had the other costume in it. The one, her armored costume.
Oh.
And they were both shoot the white face and everything, and I had to go out to L.A. and but it was tough. We sued him. They said they sold 180,000 units of it or something, which apparently I met these lawyers, and the lawyers were all gung-ho about it. We had a couple of depositions about it, and really beat the shit out of them. In the deposition. And at the last minute, my lawyer's like, I think we're going to settle, and they want to offer $9,000 or 10 grand, that's it. That's it.
They sold like 150,000 units at roughly $25 a disc.
Yeah, and it was a DVD, and we're like, what? And it was very strange how abruptly it came to an end, and he's like, I advise you to take it. So we took it, but they can't make any more Angel X's. They can't, because it wasn't parody. It was basically trying to make my story.
Right.
If they had called it Shit, say, or She, Sexy She, or something, and made it a parody of this comic they read, then that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But this was just a blatant ripoff. But again, it's tough because you see shirts and images, and that's our magazine. There was a magazine, I don't remember which one, and it was one of my drawings, but they turned her into a surfer girl or something, and it was my damn drawing. And there's like one of my She images, instead of her with the sword and in a kimono or something, she was holding a surf, and it was my drawing. I'm like, wow, that's cover number 11 of whatever book. So it's.
Well, for sure you have to copyright your material, trademark it, and then you have to defend it. Mm-hmm. And it's getting challenging because companies can sprout out, and they do, overnight in other countries, and with scanners and the cafe pressification of the world. I mean, we're incessantly chasing these companies down. There's a company right now, origin somewhere Asia. What they'll do is they'll get a hold of any of our books digitally, scan them, sell them as prints on eBay. But they pop up in no time at all. You work with eBay to try to shut them down. They shut down and they pop up as another entity. And we're talking, they'll get 800 images up in a week. Wow. So it's intense. I mean, even right now, we were just looking at some kind of T-shirt company, and they have 10 knockoff images of Lady Death. So chasing it down is a thing. One of our guys, he could type 110 words a minute, and he particularly hates this kind of thing in spam.
Right.
And so the lawyers drafted up the real cease and desist, and we just and follow up and make it super uncomfortable. And we will prosecute. I mean, in fact, that's what we say on the cease and desist. It's like, look, we're giving you 48 hours. If you don't take it down, we were looking for an example. So we're happy. We put money away to make an example. So keep on effing with us, because you will be this example.
Nice.
So when it comes
there's a lot. In this day and age, more than ever, there's a lot to track down. It sucks.
Where do you look to see if anyone has taken any of your images or work?
They pop up.
Fans tell us all the time.
Yeah.
Fans are a good resource.
Fans are always telling us. Yeah. And it's cool, like, most people are sticking by the real stuff. Mm-hmm. And, we don't make it a big platform. We say, please don't patronize the illegal stuff, because it doesn't help our household, and then, in turn, it doesn't help us put the money into the material that we provide. I mean, if you guys are familiar with our stuff, like, we put a ton of money into the printing and treating everybody right in terms of our talent. We try to pay real real wages to people, so that and none of that's cheap. We may raise an inordinate amount on Kickstarter, and we do, but I could assure you that a fair amount of that goes to making the stuff.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you past the time you promised to give. So
now that we have a group here, let's keep going.
All right. So now that we've covered defense, I mean, what is the echelon that you feel is an actual point of success? When did you achieve the goal you were looking for at the time?
I got some funny stories, and I have one similar. Jeff Smith told me, who created Bone, and when Jeff was working at McDonald's, I think, and when he was putting together the first Bone after college, and he said that he went to the bank and took $20 out of the cash machine or whatever, and his wife didn't say anything. He's usually like, "What do you?" And he's like, "That's when I think I made it." I remember taking $20 or $40 out of the bank, and his wife Jay's like, "Did you take $20 out?" Type of thing. And I just love that story. That's not my personal story, but
What's your personal story?
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think.
While you're thinking, I know for me, I feel very lucky because I've been able to make a decent living in comic books. As of now, 25 years this month. Mm-hmm. So, and I've never ever had to do anything else. So I think soon as it was able to the effort was able to support our existence was the measure. But I specifically, when I first started out and Evil Ernie #1 came out in December '91, I lived in Southern California. And I would go to a comic convention that was a monthly called the Shrine Show. So I'd go there. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I used to be a monthly visitor.
Okay, so I used to go to the Shrine. And I would buy comic books wholesale from the publisher Malibu, and I'd go there and I'd hawk them. And so I'd be hawking my comic books, I'd buy them for $1.17 and sell them for $3.50. And I kind of remember coming back with one particular early on, it was a fair chunk of change for the time. It was like $350. And I was able to take, and my wife and I at the time, we lived in Studio City, California. And all this is fine, by the way. We had no furniture. Any furniture that we made out of cardboard, because we're starting out. And
can I ask what year this was?
91.
Oh my God, I probably crossed your path a couple times as a snot-nosed kid.
Yeah, there you go.
That was like my middle school years. I was living in Van Nuys during that period.
Okay, sure.
And I was going to the Shrine every weekend. It is rough to beg your parents to drive you 3/4 of the way to Los Angeles just to pick up comic books.
Yeah, from Van Nuys to the Shrine. Yeah. But that was a fun show.
It usually is. I don't know where it's at now. I've changed formats. But I'm sorry, continue.
But, at the end of that night, with this cash in my hand, I remember taking my wife to a Thai dinner, which was such a treat. And to this day, I can remember just how special that felt. Because maybe that's how some people feel when they go to fine dining. It was like we went to Thai on a Sunday. We had this money, and, we could pay the rent. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember with me, I'm trying to think a couple of fun things. I remember my first store signing when she came out. And there was another book that came out the week before, and it's some other small publisher. I don't remember now. And the guy had ordered like 300 or 600 books of She. #1, wow. or maybe awesome. 300, maybe 300 books.
That's serious. Wow.
And he sold out of them. And I remember, taking the train. I was in Queens, and I took the subway to his thing. And I remember pulling up, and there's this line, all these people. So I'm like, what the hell, And it says a new sensation She, and I'm like, what? And I walk in, and he's like, hey, and they're like, hey. I'm like, is this for me? He's like, yeah, dude, these people have bought your book. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Awesome. And it was amazing. It was so great. I remember, and I still did this a lot for years, that I would be drawing, and I would do a little sketch or sign, and I had to get up and go in the back of the line, like, I'm sorry, guys, I'm trying to go and it kind of endeared, I guess, me to them, because I was just so, as a fan, and now I'm on the other side of the table, right? It's like, wow, it's crazy. And I remember, again, that San Diego, when we had our small 10 by 10 booth in the small press, and they moved us. The San Diego Comic-Con people, I think probably was Faye even at that time, who's now, you don't even see her.
Too many crowds.
Yeah, and she's like, we got to move you guys to the signing area. Like, what? And me and Debbie like, what?
Yeah,
this is cool.
Causing too much of a commotion, so they had to get you out of there.
And you're like, oh my God. And I took a picture, and there's this giant line of people. And it was...
I mean, it's such a blessing, guys. Like, as comic fans, you have to know that for every success, there really is hundreds of people whose work didn't connect for some reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we could point to in the last decade to The Walking Dead as a major success, or some of the top talent going over to Image and doing their creator-own. That's something, but as well. But you know, for something to kind of stick, I mean, in any given year, you just see hundreds to come and go. So it's I was considered completely miraculous.
Yeah. Well, as creative people, every once in a while, you got to hit a point where the creative willpower just isn't quite where it is.
It's true.
So, how do you know when you hit that point? I mean, I don't want to ask how you guys recharge because that's an individualistic thing. But how do you know when you just hit that point where you need to refresh yourself so that you can begin the next story?
I think, yeah.
I mean, recently I went through a thing for sure. Like I was with another publisher. I actually didn't know. I was kind of like, it was in a fog, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I was in league with a publisher, Avatar Press, and working on the work. Became very resigned. I had come off a contract with them. It was actually creatively kind of fun. I wrote Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, and a lot of Lady Death. I became very cynical and very resigned about it, and I wasn't aware that I was. All I knew was that I wasn't interested. And lucky for me, I was able to turn my attention to make a couple movies, which got distributed and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I did not have enthusiasm for comics. It's absolutely true. And then somewhere along the line, I think it was, like I had this nice period of time 3 or 4 summers ago, and I started saying to myself, if I could take Lady Death back from these guys, who were doing me wrong, I thought, what would I do? And so, sort of like in the old days, how bands used to record albums, I gave myself 8 weeks, and I wasn't on the road, and I just made the future. And I just became excited about the form all over again. So I tried to resolve topics with my publisher. I couldn't. I sued them. They sued me back. And in the suing, I suddenly realized I got my mojo back in the suing. And it's just true. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I am that motherfucker. I'm the motherfucker in your life.
Yeah.
You're not the motherfucker in my life. And it's true. And I settled it, and I've been nothing short of just like, I am stoked about what's up. I am 10 years behind in all my stories, and so I'm back in the game. But it happens, man. I mean, but the overall message was I didn't know I was kind of asleep. Yeah, but then I got awoke.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Tucci, when do you know you hit that point where you need to slow down just a little bit so you can find your footing again?
Yeah, I'm ADD to the max. So I'll just go another idea. Debbie says I get pregnant with an idea. It's like, oh God, you're pregnant again, aren't you? And that's all. It consumes me. A totally new story or something, or a new property, or something I want to do. And then it comes back. You know, I did the same thing with She. I mean, that's all I did for 11 years, and you just get burnt out. You know, you really do. And now, though, I have I've been talking to Brian for years about this. That I have a great new idea for the book, and what I'm going to do with my character is the new story that we're doing, and we're working on a Kickstarter that we want to come out in February for next year. Is to take the character and have the new story is going to be 20 years removed from the original story. So now my character, Anna, will be married. She'll have a child. She'll have a daughter. Her warrior ways are far behind her.
Right.
They're way in the past. And then it all comes back. And it's almost like a comic book character grows up. So now in finding that, and my wife is in her mid-40s, and she's beautiful. She's never looked more beautiful to me than she does now. And I'm like, well, why not have her instead of this little thing that she was? And now she's a mother, and again with the fun things that we talked about in your panel too, a little bit, like she's going to be trying on the costume. Like, how the hell did I get into this?
You're actually doing the unwritten and allowing a comic book character to age.
Yeah. So I think, and then I can always go back and do all the lost stories in between, the forgotten, what happened in that period. But I think it really invigorated me because that's my life now. When I created her, that was my life then. So my wife is a big influence on me, and just the way she acted, her mannerisms, all that is how I wrote She. And back then, she was 24 years old, whatever she was when it first came out, 25 years old. And now, so she'll be 45, and I think, so I can identify with that character more. As opposed to me writing, I don't know what these kids do. The Instagrams, Instagram and all that. Sure. I'm learning it, but, they're always on their phones. And, my a friend of mine's daughters, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to be a Kardashian. That's really what they want to do. Is they want to be like that.
Sure.
These two girls, they're beautiful girls, but that's what they want to do. And I'm like, you know, and it's weird because they're twins and they're 20, beautiful. And their father hunts and he fishes, right, like I do. And we live on Long Island and it's great fishing, great hunting. He's got a boat. And I'm like, you know what you should do is you should have a thing and call it like C&C's Italian Kitchen or something like that. Sure. And you girls fish. They're beautiful girls. You're on the boat. You can be fishing. And then you catch your fish and you cook it like your grandmother, you know, taught you from Italy. And you can have this. And it's right. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, what do you want to do? It's like, I want to be a Kardashian. I'm like, no one's going to follow you filming you around doing nothing. I said, this is a great way that you can get into this.
You're doing something.
Sort of thing. If you want, you know, and you can fish and you can cook Italian meals and you can get it. It's a lot of work. And then I even got to the point, like, well, you don't even have to catch a fish. We'll catch a fish and make a pilot. Wow. Me and your dad will go catch a fish and we'll film you on the boat, say you guys caught it. You don't have to go fishing if you don't want to. And they've been fishing with them since they were kids. You know, and they don't want to do anything. They want to be famous. That's what they say.
And you speak to something about comics where there's no way really around it. It's a hard working acquired craft where you know it's just I don't know. There's not too many real overnight successes. Like you got into the game and you popped super quick, but you had a lot of training prior to it.
Oh yeah.
You know, same thing with me. I graduated college and I blah blah blah.
Yeah, I was 20 when she came out. I was 27, so I wasn't you know a kid. You know, and it's funny because you know. Like they would say the overnight sensation, but like, yeah, I've been starving for 2 years though, working on these books and trying to learn how to do this and try to get into comics first. And then after San Diego, I just went boom into becoming a self-publisher. Yeah. After I met Brian, I'm like, you know what? I want to do this too.
If I could do it, he could do it.
No, I said that about Rob. Like I did say that about the Image guys when I saw the commercial.
That's what I thought. When I saw Liefeld, I thought that too.
That's exactly what because I grew up. I went to school for illustration, and my friend's father is a long-time Marvel art director. His name is John Tartaglione. He drew lots, inked a lot of books, drew a lot, ran the bullpen. Mm-hmm. He worked for Marvel 35 years, 40 years, whatever, after the war and time, whatever it was. Anyway, so he would say, Billy, you should do comics. You could be a really good penciler. I think you could do this. I'm like, really? Now, I grew up with John Byrne and George Perez, and I'm looking at this art, you know, and then looking at Dave Stevens and some of the newer guys, you know, and, you know, holy crap. And I'm like, well, how much do they make? He goes, well, they probably start off making $25 a page. I'm like, $25 a page? It'd take me a week to do a page. That's how I felt, you know? And so I was very intimidated, you know, and that's why even though I bought comics, I actually stopped as I started wanting to become an illustrator. I stopped buying comics because I can't do this. There's no way I can do this, you know? And then I saw that commercial. And I saw that commercial, and I saw that kid, and he's a friend of mine now, Rob, great guy. And I saw that art, I'm like, that doesn't look like John Romita. Right. I could do that. I really, that's what I felt. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna get into comics. And I started buying comics again, you know, and so it's funny.
Exactly for me too. I saw the Liefeld commercial, I saw the Image guys leave, but at the same time for me, the guys that were inspiring me were Tim Vigil, David Quinn, Rebel Studios, Jim Ballant from The Darkness, and Linsner and Monks for Cry for Dawn. So that was my kind of melange, but it was the exact same thing. I'm like, if those guys could have Rebel Studios, I can do this.
Yeah. And you can, and again, if you guys want to make your own books, you guys can do it. You just got to be passionate about it. You got to be passionate. If you're going to go all in as much as you can as time allows. If you got a full-time job, of course, and don't ruin your job while you're just starting out your thing. But
just moonlight until you can have it take over. Because that's what I did. I kind of kept doing what I had to do.
That's almost exactly what I had to do before this weekend. I work as a legal secretary. I spend time typing work comp documents. And I had to put in for a couple days off to come do this. And when they asked what you were doing, I said, I have to go interview comic creators. What does that mean? So I had to list out everything I was expected to do and a list of names. And my supervisor was nice enough to send me an email that says, well, this sounds important. You can have the days off.
I still get shows because there's a lot of new fans now with Walking Dead, with the movies. And there are people at your booth like, wow, you did all these books and you did. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, like, so what else you do? We're like, what do you do for a living? You know, you still get that. And then you also, like, happens at New York. It happened at the Rhode Island Comic Con. I didn't do New York. We went to Holland instead, to the Netherlands. And you get the art students. So it happens in New York. You get the SVA students. At Rhode Island, it was a RISD student. And here comes this kid, and he's got his portfolio. And you know, I'm sure I was like that, too, as a 20-year-old cocky.
Genius,
you know,
right?
Yeah, and he's like, so you drew these? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you're pretty good. I'm like, oh, thank you very much for your validation. You're
right.
Validating my 20 years of paying my mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. Been waiting for you to say that.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you, so now I made it. But it's funny. You get. I don't know why I just thought of that.
It's okay. Well, so I don't dominate the entire hour. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Polito or Mr. Tucci?
I have a couple comments for you guys.
Right on.
So with Brian, we just with Lady of the Universe just put out a talent search.
Yep.
So I have a couple of local friends who do this, and a couple of them right around here. And instead of just sharing it, I'm trying to share everything you guys do with some praise. I send it right to them. These guys are looking for guys just like you.
I'm looking for the next generation.
Like you, go over there, and some of them are not confident.
Right.
Very, very good, but they don't have that praise from the public, and they don't think they're gonna make it. Go try this. This is your opportunity to do it right there. And I met Joe Gomez a couple of years ago. He did a nice beta rebuild for me. It's awesome. I hang out. I show it to people all the time. It's Joe Gomez. I pick him right up and come.
No, they
I share the Ivory Field with people all the time. Now some people I chat with, they go out and they send her out. They buy her pages.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's helpful.
Well, you should tell them they had confidence enough to have a table here.
Yeah. Well, that's what I told them. Just try it. You're not good at anything until you get out and try and start doing it.
Yeah.
I could relate to that, though, truthfully, as well, because there's every human being, I think, that's involved in comics to some degree. I have a showman ability, so do you, but I can tell you that there's a shyness there, too. Like, when you kind of strip away the show person, it's just my birthday recently, and, like, the whole day in my birthday, I go through the whole day feeling embarrassed, because I feel like, the spotlight's on me. It's peculiar, and I was looking at that, and I'm like, what the hell is that all about? And it's just sort of an innate shyness. So I could relate to that, because we're not really performers, and performing people don't mind that as much, but you know what I'm saying? But comic creative people, we may be a little more shy as a culture, so maybe the nice thing to tell your friends too is like, you're not alone. And, reasonable people kind of can relate to where other people have been in their life. So, I get where people are, where they're trying out and where it's all in for them and they're very shy. I could completely relate to that and understand it. I mean, the cool thing about being a comic artist is you can be shy, sitting in a room, and you could blow people's minds, from the privacy of your room.
Yeah, right. That's sure a lot with them. And Billy, I got to meet Billy with a local comic shop. He gets a lot of visitors, especially some local guys. And I had just found James Robinson through another app I'm on called Line, which has some comic chat rooms, and we chat about you guys all the time with a podcast called Four Guys in the Comic. So I go into local shops called Alternate Reality, and I had just been turned on to Airboy, which Airboy is crazy.
Oh, I remember Airboy.
It's a really, really great book, and so I met James Robinson after he did that, and he's like, I don't know what legend he is.
Oh yeah, he's serious. James Robinson's serious MF.
Yeah. And I mentioned that there's a con coming up this weekend. It was Great American, and Robinson says, I was, he got that nice British accent. I was over there last year. I'm going, you're gonna come through this year? He's like, Billy, you just come up through there. And just so I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to get some commissions for. And I'm looking at Tucci, and I'm looking at Tim Bradstreet.
Yes.
There's so many people, I don't know how to do it. And it was James Robinson. It was like, Billy, he's a really great guy. So then I kind of
you just made my day. I had, if I may, and I'm sorry to go off on a tangent. It was at MegaCon this year, and I try to do a lot for the veterans. I think they're our greatest treasure. So when I meet them, I'm enamored. I was in the service, so I just have this connection with them, and it's just great to talk to them, and you kind of flash back to your days when you were young and all too. But this young kid, 30-year-old guy comes up, and he's a Marine, and he had won a Frank Miller contest to meet Frank Miller. I guess he got a Sin City poster or a new Dark Knight poster. Yeah, he got to meet Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello and hang out with them. I guess it was a MegaCon contest or something, whatever, and he got picked. But he was a combat wounded Marine in Afghanistan. And he came up to me to tell me, and he's like, well, Frank Miller told me to come up to show you my medals and stuff. He had his medals. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
And he goes, yeah, Frank. And I'm like, Frank Miller told you to come? He goes, yeah. I was sitting there, and because he was a serviceman. I guess that's how he won it, because he was in the service, and he brought his things to show. I guess Frank wanted to see his stuff too and all. And he had this, his box, and there was his medals, and he's like, yeah. So I'm showing it to Frank. I'm spending time with him. Frank goes, do you know Billy Tucci? And the guy's like, no. And he goes, you should show this to Billy Tucci. He likes to do a lot of things with the veterans. Frank Miller said that about, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Frank Miller said that about him. So, because I got
it. Just to be off his lips, right?
Yeah, because we're fans too. we got into this because we're fans, and Frank Miller, gee whiz, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was. I'm still like giddy about it. I call my wife, I'm Frank Miller, because I would see at San Diego on Sunday nights, the graffiti design guys will have a dead dog party, and you just end up there, and it's great just to decompress. And I would see Frank there every year. And he's at the bar, and just say, Frank, I'm Billy Tucci. Just say, good to see you, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, hi, how are you? Small chap, but he doesn't know what the hell I am, but I guess he did.
Yeah,
so kind of
nice.
Cool.
You stuck with him.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That was wild. So forgive me for that.
It's okay.
Governor, I just wanted to, I found this very interesting. Every time I hear something real interesting that I think, I want to review, I can use my calendar and I want to let you know that I'm thinking of using some of the shots I did on Facebook, but I want to send it to your email to us. Let you see what
Sure. We're both easy to reach.
Yeah, we're right around from each other, and I have my business card too with my email on it. So if you want to,
I'm on Facebook by my name. It's easy. / my name.
Yeah, and I'm Billy Tucci
I'm
too.
Always
phone.
Right on. Thank you.
Thank
he knows.
You. Yeah.
I'm always carrying.
Just
on.
don't post that thing about my friend's daughters. Because they'll get pissed because they'll probably watch it.
All right. Well, I think we need to end it here because the sketch off is supposed to start in 5 minutes here.
Oh, snap.
So I have been allowed to record this as a podcast and a panel. It'll be shared on Great American Comic Con and Mission Star podcast. I want to thank the creator of Lady Death, the founder of Chaos Comics, the founder and owner of Coffin Comics, Mr. Brian Polito, Mr. Billy Tucci, the owner and creator of Crusade Comics and the character She.
Right on, man. You've been great, man.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Did I lie? Those guys had insight on what to do for your small business and how not only to set it up, but how to defend it properly. If you have any interest in building a franchise, I was really surprised that this panel turned into a crash course on what to do to create and defend your business. So, take it to heart, take notes. I swear you will not regret it. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you're having a very good time this holiday season. I hope you're going to have an incredible new year, and I hope 2017 doesn't turn into the dumpster fire that 2016 thus far has been. Thank you very much. Have a great one. I am Jeremy. Don't jerk and drive. Take care.